We love to rank. We rank songs and movies, food and smartphones. But usually aware how subjective and biased those rankings are, and wish for more objectivity in our lives. The physics professor Elo Arpad decided to inject more objectivity into his favorite game, chess, and developed a method for calculating the relative skill of players in a zero-sum game. It became so successful, it's used nowadays in a variety of games and sports, and other unlikely activities, such as online dating. The Elo system assigns a numerical value to each player. This number, the player Elo rating, is more than a grade. The rating difference between Alice and Bob estimates, via the Elo formula, the probability that Alice beats Bob. Let me show you how it works in the following simple game. You and I play one-shot horse. I shoot one free throw, you shoot one, and the order doesn't matter. And if you make yours and I don't, you win 1 point. If the reverse, I win 1 point, and otherwise it's a tie and nobody gets points. Say you make your free throws 70% of the time, and me 50%. So you win a point 35% of the time, me 15, and the standard Elo formula says our rating difference is 147. Now add my little brother, who makes a free throw 30% of the time. I too win 1 point from him 35% of the time and he 15. So our rating difference is the same, 147. Elo ratings are additive. So the rating difference between you and little brother is twice that, 294, which, lo and behold, translates back to exactly 49 divided by 58, your win rate against him. This is the beauty and reason behind the Elo formula. Under those simple settings, each player has an exact and unambiguous rating, which translates to exact win probabilities. It feels like magic, but, as is often the case with magic, there's a simple explanation hiding inside the box. The Elo formula for converting the rating into probability is usually written like that, a nice concise form, but one obscuring its origin. Just multiply numerator and denominator by 10 to the power of a to reveal it is simply the ratio of two numbers associated with the players, which we shall call RA and RB. Do you see it now? The Elo system is odds in disguise. It's based on the really simple idea that if Alice is a 2-to-1 favorite over Bob, and Bob is a 3-to-1 favorite over Chuck, then Alice is a 6-to-1 favorite over Chuck. And here, if we reverse the equation, Alice, Bob, and Chuck Elo ratings would be 311, 191, and 0, or 1644, 1523, and 1333 if we stick to the convention that Elo values are centered around 1500. And by now you also realized that 10 and 400 are arbitrary, and other numbers will do the trick. The ratings will either stretch or contract, but the relations between players will stay the same. Unfortunately, this perfection holds only in the simplest of games. Say we play a slightly different game, where each of us shoots one free throw and a three-pointer, and whoever makes more shots wins. This time, with the probabilities of making each type of shot as shown on the screen, B thinks that the skill difference between A and C is 178, while the actual difference is 219, a discrepancy of 41 Elo points. In this game, even with just 3 players, any rating assignment will annoy someone. You might call it a style clash. There are 2 separate tasks, and A can be better than B at one task and worse at the other. And that's enough to create ranking inconsistency. Elo can't solve this fundamental problem because nothing can. Elo is a practical system, which lets us estimate the relative strength of A and B from the games against C, D, and E, etc. And it's not just multiple tasks. Every detail, minor as it may seem, counts. Even the way we score. Elo is exact when ties are ignored, that is, when ratings are not updated upon a tie. But what happens if one-shot horse players were to get 1 point while making their shot, and another point where the opponent misses? Now, the game can end up in a 1-1 tie when both make or both miss their shot. With this scoring scheme, the Elo difference between you and me and my little brother is 70, and the difference between you and little brother is 147, not 140. The change in scoring halved the rating gap, and created some discrepancy to boot. It's a good reminder that Elo ratings are tied to specific games and rule sets, and can't be in general compared across sites. That's it for the Elo formula, but it's only one part of the system. The system as a whole tracks player ranking over time, continuously updating the estimates when new results come in. The update is done in two stages. First, the win probability P is computed from the Elo rating, and then the update size, by how much to adjust the rating, is determined. The update size depends on P and on a constant called capital K. Let's unpack this update for a win-lose game. If Alice wins, then the Elo increases by 1 minus P times K, and Bob's Elo is decreased by the same amount. And if Bob wins, Alice's Elo decreases by P times K, and Bob gains the same amount. The total sum of the rankings remain constant, and by convention averages to 1500. So, if the estimated Elo is equal to the true Elo, then P will be the true win rate, and Alice's Elo increases by 1 minus P times K when she wins, P% of the time, and decreases by P times K when she loses, 1 minus P of the time, and voila! 1 minus P times K times P equals P times K times 1 minus P. So on average, the Elo would stay in the same correct value. When the estimate is higher, the Elo will move on average down, and when it's lower, it will move up. It's a dynamic estimator which gets rough measurements, the wins and losses, and adjusts the estimates to fit the data. Let's see it in action for two players 100 Elo points apart. This is how a sequence of 10,000 games looks like with a commonly used K value of 4. It's not a pretty sight, but one worth remembering. Rating rides can be wild. And there's only one knob we can control, K. See what happens when Alice and Bob play in a system which uses K equals 8. The higher the K, the wilder the swings. So why don't we use a very small K? The system is dynamic, it needs to respond to change. New players come in and existing players get stronger or weaker. Many systems use a larger K for new players to drive them faster into the true rating. This is a courtesy for both the player and the others. Nobody wants to play a strong player with a low rating. But in general, we want to use the lowest K possible. Let the data show you why. I ran the process for Ks from 1 to 32 and Elos from 10 to 200 and collected two statistics: the estimate mean value, how accurate it is, and the standard deviation, how wild it is. And here's the graph of the standard deviation. Those are actually many graphs of Elos from 10 to 200, but they got lumped together. The Elo value, it turns out, has but a very small effect on the variance of the estimate. It's just K. The variance is about 74 for K equals 32, 47 at K equals 16, and 16 when K equals 4. Those are serious numbers. If Alice is 40 points stronger than Bob, she will still be rated below him about 10% of the time with K equals 8. Keeping K low is important for stability and, to a lesser degree, to control bias. Here's the second graph of the bias. The bias is always positive. That is, the estimated mean is always greater than the actual Elo difference. And it does depend on the Elo. It's easier to see it in this graph, which shows the mean bias as a percent of the Elo value. Fortunately, it's less than 1% for Ks up to 16, so it shouldn't be an issue in most systems. And I'm saying fortunately because it's unavoidable. The update is based on P, the probability, which is in linear space, and Elo is in the exponent, part of a nonlinear expression. And this lets the bias in. So what have we learned? We learned that the widely used Elo system is based on a simple idea. You get a number, say 6. And when you meet a 3, the odds are 2 to 1 in her favor. And when you meet an 18, the odds are 3 to 1 in your favor. But this number is hazy and elusive, not only because people have moods and headaches and jet lag. A single number cannot capture reality even if player strength was set in stone. Even 3 players will disagree over the exact rating assignment. Moreover, ratings are hard to estimate. It takes between 60,000 to 80,000 games to estimate Elo down to 1 digit, and that's when directly summing wins and losses. It takes longer with the bias and variability of the Elo system, the price we pay for adaptability. But it's a price we're happy to pay. The bias and high variability are not deficiencies of the system, but a result of not throwing enough data at a hard problem. Elo is an imperfect tool in a world full of chaos and dice. This concludes my geeky yet gentle introduction to the Elo system. Now you know more about the innards of the Elo system than all of your fellow geeks, and ready to tackle my other videos. Please like this video so others can suffer as well. Now go and play and have fun like no Elo is watching.